Scott Smith has dedicated himself to the people of East Palestine, Ohio, following the Norfolk-Southern train derailment that released toxic chemicals into the environment. Using his expertise, he conducted independent environmental testing to expose contamination that government agencies were denying. Despite harassment, surveillance, and attempts to discredit his work, Scott has fought tirelessly for transparency and justice, spending his own resources to support affected communities. His commitment to truth is a powerful example of how one individual can make a difference. Scott, we honor your selflessness and your dedication to helping those in need.
Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. So my first question is, what was your reaction when you learned that the EPA had knowingly withheld data about dangerous levels of toxins? Did it confirm suspicions you already had?
When I learned that the EPA knowingly withheld data, I was not surprised at all. And it confirmed all my suspicion of everything that they were doing in East Palestine, Ohio after the train derailment.
So you've worked on over 75 chemical spills. What was it about East Palestine that stood out as uniquely catastrophic?
I've now been working in over 75 disasters, starting with my own in 2006, which was a flood disaster that wiped the company I owned out. So over 18 years, over 75 disasters. The East Palestine train derailment disaster stands out because it's like all other 70 plus disasters I've been in, and here's why. Because of the mixtures of chemicals. Most of these disasters, like starting with my own in 2006, was oil and minor chemicals, only a handful of chemicals. So in East Palestine, you had oil chemicals, you had phosgene gas, you had products of incomplete combustion, dioxins, you had polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and we could go on and on and on. So the bottom line is East Palestine stands out because it was like over 70 disasters all in one, and that subjected the community to an inordinate amount of exposure from mixtures of chemicals that was unprecedented. Not even our veterans have faced so many chemicals with all the burn pits, like from Iraq and Afghanistan, and we know what the veterans went through with their exposures.
What are some of the heartbreaking stories that you've heard from residents of that community, and how has that influenced your work?
Yeah, there's one of them, and it's a little bit tough to talk about. The first person that I went there, her name's Courtney Miller. She lost her life earlier this summer, and she is the one that reached out to me on social media and asked me to go there. And she had a lot of health issues, a lot of chemical exposure. So, and I've gotten to know the community well, and I've seen just, male breast cancer and throughout the community, these chemicals affecting little kids, bleeding, bloody noses, respiratory issues that people have never had. And it is what drives me is how these people are just dismissed, basically blaming them for their health conditions when they didn't have any of these health conditions prior to the derailment and intentional explosion of the rail cars.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And how does it feel to be awarded with the Blueprint Whistleblower Prize?
Well, I know when Leslie Pacey called me about that, it's actually quite emotional because, it's a tough thing to do this. And I can tell you, to have your own federal government in the EPA coordinate with public relations firms, with class action attorneys, and start a smear and defamation campaign against you, and to have, people set up anonymous trolls, even the strongest human being, it absolutely has an effect. And it's not easy. That's why I say having the resources of the Government Accountability Project have gotten me through this. And for me, I'm just humbled and honored to have the award. And if I can use this in any way to get more people to speak up, to defend free speech, to defend whistleblowers, that's all I want. Is I want more and more people to come together for the truth and free speech, and expose all this corruption, and fix this on behalf of all communities and all residents and all citizens in the U.S.
So our heartfelt congratulations to all these years' incredible winners of the Blueprint Whistleblowing Prizes. The Boeing whistleblowers, Robert Herald, Dorothy Mmushi, Mabusa Nkobo, Sarah Kitio, Ravo Ramosavanyana, Sarika Lakraj Naido, Vivian Mwanike, and Scott Smith. Their courage and dedication has brought critical issues to light and inspired us all.